I think we have everyone here. So it is 8:30. If you can just pull Trustee Criswell up on the screen, please.
Yay.
There she is. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you? Good, thank you.
It is the charming hour, and we might be a little loud on my volume.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah, okay. So we have everyone here. It's 8:30, and we will start at your pleasure.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Dr. Mosier. I'd like to call the Kansas City, Kansas
Well,
Community College Board of Trustees special meeting to
second.
order on Tuesday,
hold-
September 19th, 2023.
Yeah, sorry, hold on. Let us go live, and we'll see the recording button. I should have mentioned that. So 2 prompts, and then we're ready to go.
Oh, no worries, no worries. We were live before, then we went unlive, and anyway, it's fine. No worries.
Okay. We're good to go? All right, we're good to go.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to call the Kansas City, Kansas Community College Board of Trustees special meeting to order on Tuesday, September 19th, 2023. Excuse me. May we have roll call, please?
Trustee Ash.
Here.
Trustee Brown.
Here.
Trustee Bruni.
Here.
Chair Criswell.
Here.
Trustee Daniels.
Here.
Trustee Hoskin Sutton.
Here.
Vice Chair Isnard.
Thank you. I'd like to announce that there will be 2 executive sessions. The first executive session will be to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel for a 7-minute duration with possible action to follow in open session. May I have a motion for the first executive session, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are now on our way to executive session. Those in the room will be allowed time to travel to the Upper Jewel Lounge in person. Go ahead.
Does that mean we can't chat anymore?
We're gonna unmute the mics here in a second and go live. So, all right, Trustee Criswell, we are all back.
Wonderful, thank you so much. I'd like to go ahead and return the meeting to open session. Also like to announce that there is no action from the executive sessions. Excuse me, may we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The meeting is adjourned. Next up, I'd like to call the Kansas City, Kansas Board of Trustees, Kansas City, Kansas Community College Board of Trustees meeting to order on Tuesday, September 19th, 2023. With that, excuse me, excuse me. With that, Vice Chair Isnard will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. States of America.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and could we have roll call, please? No, excuse me. I'd like to announce the Kansas City, Kansas Community College mission statement. The mission statement is to inspire individuals and enrich our community one student at a time. May we have roll call, please?
Trustee Ash.
Here.
Trustee Brown.
Here.
Trustee Bruni.
Here.
Chair Criswell.
Here.
Trustee Daniels.
Here.
Trustee Hoskins Sutton.
Here.
Vice Chair Isnard.
Here.
Thank you. Next is the audience to patrons and petitioners. I'd like to invite the public to raise their hand in the chat or approach the podium for the opportunity to address the board. Addressees must state their name and address for the record before making their comment or asking their question. There is a 5-minute maximum limit. Do we have anyone in the chat?
There's no one in the chat.
Okay, and is there anyone in the room?
No.
No? All right, thank you. Next is the recognitions and presentations. The first presentation is the facilities master plan presentation presented by Trainer HL. And I'd like to invite at this time Dr. Mosier to introduce Trainer HL. Go ahead, Dr. Mosier.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, I think we need to approve the agenda.
You are exactly right. Excuse me. Thank you, Trustee Ash.
So I will move that we approve the agenda.
Yeah,
Second.
thank you so much.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again. Okay, moving on then to the recognitions and presentations. Dr. Mosier, if you would go ahead and introduce Trainer HL.
Yes, great. Thank you, Trustee Criswell. Just bring my volume down, please. Thank you. So over the over the last year or so, we have been working with Trainer HL and led by Jerry Pope and Dr. Knieven on the facility master plan. It's been really good conversations that have taken place with all areas of the college at the different locations. We looked at main campus and the tech campuses. We did not have Trainer look at the Leavenworth site, as there are kind of plans already in action, and downtown. So a lot of really good work from them. They're going to give an overview of what we have landed on. And one thing to keep in mind, that this is a 15 to 20 year plan. So as you look at the projects and the dollar amounts, those are not immediate spendings. Those are things that we'll need to look at to prioritize and see what we can do and will do and when. So those things are still will be forthcoming after the development of this plan. So with Trainer today, we have Christy Prescott, Joe Stramberg, Nadia Zahiri, and James Rettinger. And at this time, I would like to go ahead and turn it over to Trainer.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for inviting us. As Dr. Mosier mentioned, we've been working on this for a year, and we're just going to give you a brief update, and you have much more information in the packets that were provided to you, and we would be happy to answer any questions at the end. So as early in the process, we identified districts on the campus. So you have the core academic district in the center, and then with a residential district to the west, an athletic district to the north, and then an innovation future development district to the south. And as part of defining those districts and looking at development of the campus, we proposed a ring road that activates the east side of campus. That currently doesn't happen because right now you navigate through parking lots. So the ring road encircles the academic core, and then we still take advantage of the main access off State and the access from the north off Parallel. And then we're also proposing an access, a right in, right out off of College Parkway, again, to activate that east side of campus. So as part of the overall proposal, we really looked at the student experience and ensuring student success. So we looked at relocating the learning commons to the center of campus, and as part of the initial concept was this green spine through campus. You have a beautiful campus, and we really wanted to enhance that and enliven the exterior spaces, so that center pond space became sort of the nucleus of that development and provided opportunities to engage the exterior with existing buildings as well as the future buildings. So with the learning commons at the center to activate the core of campus, and then the development of the east side where we're proposing a student center, a dining facility to support the campus, and then the event center that supports campus activities but also community, and then relocating and enhancing the early college experience as the focal point as you enter campus. And then to the north of the east side, we have the Innovation Center. So really 4 new buildings and the renovation of the existing learning commons for that early college to really activate that east side of campus. And then the addition of the simulation hospital as part of the health sciences. And then the addition to the Performing Arts Center on the northwest side of campus. And the addition and to the field house and the wellness addition at that location to activate the athletic component. And you see in the overall master plan, we are proposing to move the softball field to the north to be a part of the athletic district of campus that opens up that south portion for future use. On the tech campus, this is Tech 1, trying to carry over some of the concepts that we developed for main campus where we're trying to activate and provide exterior experience for the students. It's really a greening of the existing parking lot, and then looking at future development on the north side where we propose a future building, again with an exterior space connecting that building to the existing facility, and then on the southwest side providing a covered canopy to allow students to access those programs on that wing of the building, give them protection. Right now they have to go outside to give them some protection, inclement weather. And again, trying to pull together some of that exterior experience from the main campus to ensure that student success. Then when we go to fire science, Tech 2, Tech 3, and what we're calling Tech 3A, we have 2 options that we looked at for that. One where we are adding on or manipulating the existing facilities as they reside today. So at fire science, we're proposing to enclose that covered area on the south side of the building to create a lobby and community space for the students that doesn't necessarily exist there at the moment. And then expanding the offerings for the fire science with a fire training tower and a pad for automotive fires to enhance the curriculum that they currently have. And then at auto collision, a similar concept where we would enclose that covered area on the south side of the building as a lobby space and take down the existing building, that's the conference room, and incorporate that into the lobby. So that becomes the focal point of that campus, the arrival point for the programs that are occurring there. And then on the auto tech side, we would be adding, in addition to the south side, which would be the new diesel and heavy EV tech building, and then enhancing some additional bays for the auto tech facility. And then with the property to the north, the opportunity for a future facility there, that would be for a future EV program. And then, that future EV program would be the 3A, the Tech 3A program. And then an additional concept for this site would be, and we got some feedback that those existing facilities don't necessarily meet some of the current needs for the programs, and a way to consolidate some of the tools and the administration. We're proposing that you take down the existing auto collision and auto tech buildings and provide a whole new facility to consolidate those two programs, as well as the future heavy diesel and heavy EV technology, into one facility, with the potential for growth in that facility, whether it be future additional bays or classrooms that could serve this part of campus. And then again, the addition of that EV program building to the north. So that's a quick overview. Is there any questions on that?
My questions are, I know so that we can look like we're in the right century, we need to definitely do some updates, and I'm pleased with that. I did have a question about, one thing I saw in there is that, some of my questions are for Dr. Mosier, but one thing I saw on there was the road, the right entrance, left entrance road over by where continuing ed now is, off of College Parkway. Years ago, when they put in College Parkway, they wanted to make like a ramp where you could come on, but they couldn't do it because of that that tree or something that's in that nature trail. And are you going to be able to make that on-off ramp without disturbing that? Do anyone remember that? Is that, if you were here at the college, you remember it was a big thing about disturbing that nature path there because of that old historic tree that's in there.
Is it the oldest tree? Is that
Yeah,
the tree we're
oldest tree in
talking about that has
campus.
since come down?
Yeah, and we've taken a look at that, and we haven't done the exact measurements. But one thing to consider, no one has done anything with that tree, given the history of it, even since whatever year it was taken down. So it's actually just sitting in the ground rotting. So if we're going to do something, we need to make a decision and do something with it. Chief and I were out there doing some cleanup on the trail this last weekend, just an opportunity to get outside, get some fresh air, and do a little work, which is always fun for me. We're taking a look at it, and I think we ought to look at that separately. And what are we going to do with that tree? Otherwise, it's going to continue to sit there and rot. So if we were to take off, like 6 inches or so from the trunk, where it's cut at the trunk, we could get someone that has a 72-inch bar and, cut some rings from it, turn it into some furniture, turn it into something. But I think it's a shame that it's just been allowed to sit there and rot all this time.
Yeah, and I think, though, I'm not a biologist or anyone that knows all of that, but some of the conversation from that before is when it's in nature like that and it falls, that is part of it, is that you don't move it. You just let it take its course. And so, because I think it may have even been down then, but between our biology faculty and our biology students and people from the community, it could not be moved. If it's something like that, you just leave it. You don't clean it up because you just let it continue to decay. And maybe we need to get someone with an expert that tells us how that works. But I do recall that when something is historic like that, you don't move it.
Yeah, I guess there are different trains of thought with that. So there's still enough of that tree that it could sit, we could take a good portion of it, do something to actually save it and its historic nature. And it's a big, tall tree, but we wouldn't do something with with all of it, but there's just different schools of thought on that.
I thought on your rendering, it looked like you were a little further south where you were
Yes, that's-
proposing
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
that
position.
right in, right out.
Yeah,
So
we,
it would-
we were conscious in positioning that so as not to disturb the
Okay,
wooded
that's what
area
it
as,
looked
as
like.
best we could,
Yeah.
and working with our landscape and civil engineers.
Okay.
That tree is pretty far to the east as you enter the trail from just north of Flint.
Yeah.
So I think that the de-wooding that would have to take place on the outside, the outfield of the softball field wouldn't really go near it, but I still think that we ought to be doing something with that tree besides just letting it sit there. Personal opinion.
Yes.
Yep.
And you said that the student services, you said putting everything together, but that was the reason Jewel was built, was to bring all of the student services together, because financial aid and student services were in the old student union. And so in the new student union, exactly what's going to be in there? Okay.
Hello there. In much of student affairs is going to remain in this building. And so financial aid, the registrar, the admissions, enrollment is all here. What would be in the new student center would be student activities, the dean of students, counseling, that sort of thing, and with the dining component, so it's a building for the students and all their activities and those components. So the core of student affairs here with a one-stop shop as you enter into the building. So it's splitting the fundamental components of enrollment and admissions here, but yet providing space for the students in the student center.
And I didn't notice that most of the areas we talk about having a canopy, but if that's going to be high traffic because dining is going to be there, it seems like we would need some type of canopy or enclosed walkway for the people who are accessing that building. That's just my thoughts on that.
That has been under discussion also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it needs to be a canopy. Okay.
I have a question for administration. What are next steps? I mean, obviously, this is a 15, 20-year project, but been going on for a while. So what next? What should the board be looking for?
Yeah, now that we have this information, I think we need to sit down and look at it very closely. And in my personal perspective, I would be looking at what are some quick wins. What are some items that we can really enhance the student experience at that's a small budget component. And there's a couple things that we have in mind. The students at Tech bringing up just a covered canopy to walk to those outside buildings. Shame on me. I should have noticed that there wasn't one, a long time ago. But, I mean, that makes perfect sense. Don't send people out to be walking in the rain if they have to, go to the main Tech one and then let's say they go to welding, which is on the far east corner, so we could give them a little, protection from the weather. The addition of bringing community education over in physically connected to the main buildings, I think is something that we might want to look at. It's about $4 million. But it would get those students engaged with the regular student population on a more regular basis. They wouldn't be so isolated. And hopefully the outcome would be that they would be encouraged and such to take college credit-bearing classes and other things and be closer to other, areas where they right now, our student union, so to speak, is the game room downstairs in Lower Jewel, which is something that I think the college needs to take a look at it, providing the students a nice student union relaxation type environment, but it would get the community ed students and adult ed, ESL, et cetera, over as part of the main campus. So Cabinet will get together and look at some of those projects and prioritize, maybe try and timeline some of these items, and then present that to the board. And if the board has any ideas on projects that they think are important, that we take a look at, let's say in the first top 5 or so, then we'd love to hear that as well on your perspective.
I assume students have been a part of this planning and had a lot of voice in what we're looking at.
Yes, yeah, there've been a lot of open forums and open sessions, looking at designs and such on walls. It's been an iterative process, including all faculty, staff, and students. It's been a really good process, so I commend Trainer on the work that they've done.
Thank you.
Any other questions or
Thank
comments?
you.
Well done.
Well done.
All right, thank you.
Well done. Again, Trainer HL, we appreciate you.
Trustee and board, may I interrupt for a minute? Back when we did the audit, audience to patrons and petitioners, and I'm doing this because this person had contacted me, and they walked in at 9:04, and we were past that. So I don't know if you want to still allow anyone to speak, kind of amend the agenda. But people in the community contact me, and then when I report it, it just kind of gets dismissed. So I say, well, you just need to talk to the whole board and not just me, so they can hear your concerns. So I don't know if you all want to go back for a moment and allow audience to patrons and petitioners for anyone that wants to address the board, or because she made an effort to be here
Yes,
at 9
I would like to see if we could we have a motion to move back to the audience to patrons and petitioners for this specific purpose? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are now in audience to patrons and petitioners. Like to.
Ms. Brown?
Excuse- Sorry? I'd like to, give me just a second here. I'd like to invite you to the podium if you were, I guess you'd mentioned she's in the room. I'd like
Yes.
to invite you to the podium.
And I would just like the board to know, this isn't the only person that has contacted me about this concern.
Is there more than one person in the room, or is it
The
just
other person is not here.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Trustee Sutton. Okay, I'd like to invite you to approach the podium for the opportunity to address the board. You must state your name and address for the record before making your comment or asking a question. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good morning.
morning.
Kansas
Morning.
City, Kansas Community College Board of Trustees. My name is Connie Brown Collins. I'm with Voter Rights Network of Wyandotte County. I'm the founder and director. My address is 2223 North 64th Street, Kansas City, Kansas, 66104. I want to give you just a synopsis of my organization and what we're about. Our main focus is community education and civic engagement. We're a nonpartisan organization that provides ongoing education on voting and other human rights, including public education, and issues pertinent to Wyandotte County voters and residents. We work mostly at the state level. I've included a synopsis of who we are and what we do on the handout sheets that I've given you. I've tried to schedule 2 recent events at KCKCC. The first was a school board candidate forum in conjunction with the Student Senate. After submitting my request in writing and numerous follow-up emails and phone calls, I was ultimately denied a partnership with the Student Senate, but was told we could still hold the event at KCKCC. So we decided to go elsewhere and do something entirely different, which we did at Third Friday Art Walk this past Friday. I'm not sure why the administration said no student organization involvement in such a forum. Perhaps you know about that and can shed some light on why we were denied student organization involvement. The second request that I made for an event was at a recently hosted event at the Tech Center. It was a nonpartisan event. It was titled Legislative Lunch and Learn. It included legislators from both sides of the aisle. I've held this event in the past in Wyandotte County and Johnson County. As you can see from my handout, our members are passionate individuals from both counties who care about and have ties to Wyandotte. I had heard through several sources that the Tech Center was expensive. When I asked scheduling coordinator Neela Bruner whether costs could be defrayed through partnering with a student organization or other KCKCC entity, I was told that I was getting the same rate that she would get for renting the facility as a staff member, $175 an hour, plus costs for security, $80 an hour, plus a refundable 50% addition to the facility fee upfront. This was in addition to the $175 an hour rental fee. I was told that 50% addition was for potential damages. Plus, I needed to purchase a liability insurance policy. That is something I am familiar with. Additional charges would have been assessed if we had used KCKCC tech staff and equipment for live streaming or hybrid viewing, which we elected not to do due to the cost. This was by far the most expensive venue that we explored in Wyandotte County and also in Johnson County. We also investigated UG parks and rec facilities, libraries, churches, and other venues. We settled on KCKCC because the other sites were booked on the date that we chose. In contrast, we have held a similar event at Johnson County Community College. There, all the rental, all the security, the setup, and tech services fees were waived through our partnership with a student organization, in this case, PELA, P-E-L-A, Political Engagement and Leadership Alliance. Also, there was no upfront potential damage percentage or administration fee. The college created signage and legislator name placards for our event. We did pay for a liability insurance policy, table coverings. We also used catering service for box lunches. I was able to upgrade our box lunches due to the much lower cost of facility and other fees. All things being equal, overall costs for the same event at Johnson County Community College were considerably less than those charged for the event at KCKCC. I had originally estimated that the costs were half of those, but there are some unknown amounts that we elected not to incur, such as tech services. I don't know the hourly rate for those services. I do know that Neela Bruner did everything possible to keep our costs down. She even attended our event in person to keep us from incurring the charges for an additional required security presence. We certainly appreciate her attention to our limited nonprofit budget.
Time limit.
Should I stop? Got one more paragraph.
Go ahead.
Okay. When I initially asked Neela the cost to secure the tech center, she told me $175 an hour. I replied, "So you all don't really want community groups to rent these facilities, do you?" Of course, that was rhetorical. I didn't expect an answer, but it left me wondering. I have a couple of additional community education events that I'm exploring with the college here, both in collaboration with Mike Torres, your new Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Director. Whether one of them will actually take place here will solely depend on whether we can afford these facilities. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any questions or comments from the board or Dr. Mosier?
I was wondering, had that been submitted to the Community Engagement Committee? Did you
She,
talk to us?
No, I didn't know
Oh.
about it to talk to, but I did talk with Andrika Wilcoxon on numerous occasions, and that was not mentioned to me.
I can't speak to this specific event because I'd want to go back and look at the actual details of what was submitted and what was waived, et cetera. But I can speak in general on how we provide our facilities to external entities, whether they're have a educational partnership with us, or if it's an organization unrelated to the institution. But some of the charges, if an event is held on a Saturday per se, and we don't have staffing and we incur additional costs, then we have the requester pay for those costs, because it is money out of the college coffers that is not in our normal operating budgets that have been approved. If AV needs to come in and set up, again, if it's an additional cost outside of their normal hours and everything, we would charge for that. We also have a nonprofit rate, which is about 50% of what the normal rates are. So we do work with organizations, whether or not they have a direct affiliation to the college or not. But there are multiple factors that go into making those decisions, and we try to work with the community members as much as possible, but being good stewards of our fiscal resources too. If it's going to cost the college additional money, then we do charge for those additional services, just as our standard operating practice for that. And if you could state your name and contact information and the name of the event again, I'd be happy to go back and take a look at it.
Connie Brown Collins, Voter Rights Network of Wyandotte County. And our event was held on August 26th. It was on a Saturday. And I understand the additional costs incurred from having staff come on a Saturday. However, at Johnson County Community College, our event was also on a Saturday, and we incurred no charges because we partnered with a student organization. No, extra charges for staff coming in, campus police, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it may be the availability of their resources as well, as they have a lot more resources than we do here at KCKCC. But thank you. And we'll have your contact information on the document that you submitted. So
right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I
Go ahead.
also, I think that our rates should be published. They used to be published so you would know, but now it's not published, so.
That's incorrect. They are published.
They're published.
Okay, well, I looked on
All
that.
of our-
I didn't see the rates on
All
there.
of our rates are published on
Where are they?
facility
Because
rentals.
I couldn't find them. Are they online?
We've been
Yes.
working with Christie, and anyone that makes an inquiry gets a list of the requirements.
Okay,
So-
because I saw where facility, after I got 2 different calls, I looked online and I saw the process, but I didn't see the fee. I do think, in the interest of community, that fee should be considered and probably lowered some so that community, because we're here to serve the community, and it doesn't look good for us if people who live in our community have to go to Johnson County for events that should be able to be held here. So, thank you. I just wanted the board to hear that, because if I just say it.
Yeah, they are published online. I'll send you the link. And we do give discounts to nonprofits, and it's a 50% discount. If it's a for-profit venture, where they are selling goods or, trying to raise money, or not like a fundraiser nonprofit, but if it's income generating, opportunity, then we do charge, typically we charge the full rate, but nonprofits are 50%, employees are 25%.
And especially in light of this is an election year, we have 11 people running for the Board of Trustees. I would think we would want some type of, I know you're having a forum, but we would want some type of nonpartisan forum on this campus in the evening time where the community could come and hear the candidates. It's always been something here on this campus during election season, so thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
The Chamber of Commerce used to do a forum in our Performing Arts Center every year where they would invite
Everybody.
candidates to come in. Really a great event. I don't know why they don't do it anymore.
And Merle Bland would have one here in Upper Jewel.
That's right, yeah. That was specifically for college.
That's for the college specific.
Chamber of Commerce had one over 2 nights.
Yeah.
All offices in Wyandotte County, really well done. I don't know why that doesn't happen anymore. I had a question, I think there was a comment made about, there was a request to cooperate with a student group, and that was denied. I don't think I've heard that conversation before about, what's that, how does that work, or, is that what I understood? You said something about there was a student, you asked for student involvement and somehow,
Partnership.
yeah, student senate, I don't understand.
We'd have to
I
go
don't
back.
think I've heard that process before.
We'd have to go back and look at those
Yeah.
details.
And I think,
Sometimes people want to just partner with a student club just so they can get the use for free, and it's a one-time event.
Yeah.
And, you know, we look at that, or if it is an organization that typically partners with our student clubs, so.
I'd be curious as to how that works, as
Yeah.
to
And
how a decision is made of whether or not to.
I'd ask for a little more clarity, because I know on the Community Engagement Committee, it sounds as though these things go to the cabinet and a decision is made one way or another, but we've also taken things on the Community Engagement Committee and waived it ourselves. And once it went through the cabinet, it came to us. We never heard about this one, so there's a
Disconnect.
a hard spot in there somewhere where things aren't flowing through the cabinet to the community engagement committee like maybe they should.
Well, again, I think you've got to go back and pull it and look
Yeah,
at the details.
look at the details.
And see,
Exactly.
somebody made a decision
It
based
was a hard
on
no.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It may have been an incorrect decision, and if so, we can work to
yeah.
rectify that. And but if not, then maybe we need to look at the policy.
Policy again.
And we are very consistent in how we work with these requests. And we need direction then from the board community engagement committee. Do you want to see every single request that comes through that has a fee associated with that? So maybe if that group wants to talk about it, then
Let us talk about it.
and then get back.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because we try and do, we send you the ones that we believe that you would want to see, but I don't think, you know, it's your decision, but I don't know if you want us to send you every single request that there would be a fee assigned. So if you'll just
Well,
let us know.
If we got a chance to see the list, then we could kind of know what we do and
I
do
think-
not want to.
Yeah, yeah, just let us know.
Yeah, I'd like to see every hard no.
So,
If you approve it, I don't need to see it.
yeah,
It's
well,
approved.
this was, it sounds like this was given discounts for that nonprofit rate, and some things were waived.
Okay.
And all of that is, you know, standard procedure. So we'll look into it and we'll get you some more information.
Just make sure we don't have a sticking point, because we're
Yep.
getting organized here and we want to do it right.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
Okay, any other question or comments? Okay, well, thank you again. Excuse me. Next on the agenda, back to the recognitions and presentations. The second presentation is the the academic program review annual update presented by Mr. Jerry Pope, Vice President of Academic Affairs. Go ahead, Mr. Pope.
Good morning, Board.
Morning.
Morning.
I'll just make a brief statement that, I forgot my phone, so I don't know how long I'm going to take, but I know I'll get the message. If you looked what I had scheduled was an HLC biannual update. We have our monitoring report, which is due at the end of the year, so we're working on that. I'll give a report at the November board meeting about that. So I just wanted, in case you're keeping track, I'm a little bit off on some of the presentations that I'm giving. So program review, as you remember, that is one of the issues for which we were put on probation. So I'm happy to report we do have a consistent process, and we are following that process regularly. So we have 33 programs that are in this program review process, and these are degree granting, for the most part, AAS or certificate programs. Year 1, self-study, presentation, and feedback. Year 2, they complete an action plan and implement that action plan. Year 3, there's a mid-cycle check-in, and they continue the implementation of their plan. And based on the mid-year check-in, they may make some changes. And then in year 4, the continued implementation of that action plan, and then a final report. 4 cohorts, and each cohort is either in year 1, 2, 3, or 4. And as it turns out, cohort 1 is in year 2 of the program review cycle. So this is, in essence, like our 5th year. So cohort 1 is in year 2. These are 8 programs. 6 of them are in health professions, 2 in the Division of Career and Technical Education. So they're creating their action plans, and those will be due to the dean, the program review committee chairs, me throughout fall of 23, and then the final review document, it'll be reviewed by all of those stakeholders, will be due back to the dean and the program chairs on December 15th. And so to complete this, they utilize their self-study report, which they completed last year in their year 1, and then they had feedback from all of those various stakeholders. And then in spring of 24, they will begin implementation of that action plan. Any needed resources, they may make some budget requests based upon this program review. They continue to track their assessment findings, identify any additional challenges that might be included in their mid-cycle report for next year. And then cohort 2 is in year 1. And so one of the things that they do in year 1, and there are, 10 programs, and these are actually in all of our major academic divisions. So they're in CTE, Arts, Communications, and Humanities, Math, Science, Business, Technology, and Social and Behavioral Science and Public Services. The self-study report is due to the dean, and then the program review chairs, the VPA throughout this term. The final one, after all of those review processes, is due back to the dean on December 15th. And then the items that they use to complete this self-study report, enrollment data from the Office of Institutional Effectiveness, budget data from the Finance Office, and relevant assessment data and documents that they've collected over the past 4 years. And then the presentation is, each of the program chairs will do a presentation to the program review committee in spring of 24. The final program self-study and feedback is reviewed by the program review committee, the deans, and me, and it is back to the program review faculty and the dean in May of 24. And then cohort 3 is in year 4, and there are 10 programs across multiple divisions. Basically, this fall, they'll continue the implementation of the action plan and so forth and so on. And cohort 4 is in year 3. And in cohort 4, we only have 5 programs that are across 3 divisions. And they're essentially doing the same thing as cohort 3, except they're completing their mid-cycle report this year. So I know that was kind of fast, but all the programs, I'll say the program review committee has a great spreadsheet that I was able to pull all this information from just really quickly. So they're doing a great job, and it's a faculty-led committee. So they're doing a great job of keeping track and making sure that everybody is going through this process. And we have mentors, and they work on reviewing the forms and changing the forms based upon feedback that they get every year. So I think it's a really nice, robust process.
I was going to mention this later, but because we're talking about assessment, I noticed in the HR report that we're losing Dr. Cynthia Goodell. And please let her know, we're sorry to see her go. She will truly be missed, and thank her
I absolutely will.
for
I
getting
have.
us over that HLC hump
Yeah.
so that we are now
Yeah.
accredited, because I know she played an integral role in that. And when I saw that, my heart skipped a beat. I thought, oh no, you can't leave us.
I was very saddened to see her go, but excited for her opportunity. And she's moving out of state, and she just got a really good opportunity. So,
Yes,
it's
and we're-
always mixed blessings, mixed
Yes.
feelings.
Yes.
But yeah, I'll pass that on,
All right.
definitely.
Thank you.
Jerry, is this an ongoing process? Once they go through the 4 years, they finish the fourth year, what happens the next year? Do
They start over.
They start over,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
continuous process?
Yes. Yeah, cohort 2 this year is back in year 1. And so
Yeah.
they've gone through, cohort 1 is the only one that's been through all 4 years,
Okay.
and they've started over this year.
Oh, good,
And then
okay.
cohort 2 is in the 4th year, and they'll start over next year. So yes, it's a 4-year cycle that just keeps going.
That's great. I remember old programs, every 10 years you would do it, you know?
Yes, we try to do, we think 4 years is better. Some institutions do 3, some do 5. We just kind of settled on 4. So,
But the fact that it's ongoing is, I think, really
yeah,
important.
absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Pope? All right, thank you again, Mr. Pope. We appreciate you. Okay, as for communications, we have none scheduled, so we will now move to the board committee reports. I'd like to invite the committees to report, starting with the board finance committee.
Good morning, Chair Criswell and board. The Finance Committee did meet on Monday, September 11th. I was joined by Trustees Ash and Bruni. We had a fairly light month for spending. Our burn rate was at 4.7 million this month versus our monthly average of 7.6. And we were told that that was mostly supplies and startup costs for the new semesters. So expected there. Some revenue of note, we did receive the first half of our state aid payment, which was a little over 5 million, and then about another $500,000 of tuition in the month of August. We received an update on student housing. So you will notice on the items for payment, there was around $24,000 in costs for some water mitigation related to that program. So we're dealing with that and the construction company on that issue and some condensation we're hearing from some of the ductwork. So you may hear more about that in the student housing update today. We also have finally the locks on order. So there's quite a long lead time on that, but that is moving forward. So that was about $100,000 to finish out that piece of the project that we've been waiting on for quite some time. And then probably the largest item on our agenda for this last meeting was a report on the issuance of the industrial revenue bonds, which is you're going to hear more about in new business today. But we had lots of good questions for staff and the bond counsel that's helping us through that. So that is just something that was expected, sounds like from the beginning of the project, predated me, but I was glad to learn about it during that report. And we did feel like it was worthy to move forward to the full board. So I will also say that we did hear about it at the foundation meeting last week, where they voted to move forward with their part of it. So that is complete. It's just ready for the Board of Trustees action at this point. That concludes my report.
Okay, any questions or comments for Vice Chair Isnard? May we have a motion to approve the report or accept the report, please?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again, Vice Chair Isnard and the Finance Committee. We appreciate you. Next is the Board Policy Committee.
Madam Chair and the board, I will present the policy that we are bringing forward to you today. It's more regulations than anything.
Understood. Thank you. And next is the Board Community Engagement Committee. Go ahead.
Yes, the Board Communication Engagement Committee did meet this month, and we were excited about the great opportunity at the groundbreaking. We saw a lot of community people. During our meeting, we had the discussion about there were some areas that we probably could have increased some attendance to the the groundbreaking, because that's an important item for our college here. And I was listening to the things that are going to happen around here on campus. We've certainly got to have some things happen here in order for the things to happen downtown to continue. So we've got to work together and make sure. But we saw some areas that probably needed some attention in the engagement committee, and we intend to do that. We are still meeting with the neighborhood groups and trying to hear from them. I hated to hear today that there was someone that wanted to be on campus and was unable to. So we will follow up on that to make sure that those areas are in the future are taken care of, because we are a community operation and we want to be that for sure. So the people on my committee, Trustee Bruni and Trustee Ash, are very committed to the community. So we're going to stay engaged. You can't get rid of us, and we'll keep doing what we're doing. Thank you, and that we appreciate the opportunity to serve. Anybody on my committee want to make any other? Okay.
Nope.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments for the Board Community Engagement Committee? Okay, may we have a motion to accept the report, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Finally, the ACCT KACC delegates, report, please.
Not a lot to report, Madam Chair. The ACCT, Association of Community College Trustees Annual Congress will meet in 3 weeks. And so Trustee Hoskins Sutton, Trustee Isnard, and myself will be attending that. And so I think Cheryl has all of our final arrangements made and sharing them with us. For KACC, the work continues to try to set a legislative agenda for when the Kansas legislature convenes again in January. And right now, the executive director and the presidents are working quite a bit on coordinating, being ready to assist the legislative audit office that is conducting an audit for the community colleges around athletics. And so they're committing quite a bit of time to that, be sure that we're cooperating, trying to be as consistent as possible with the information that legislative post-audit is requesting. So there's a lot of work going on there in the weekly president's meetings and comments and discussions. And so a couple of things going on there, but the next meeting is in Liberal, Seward County, I believe December 1st and 2nd for KACC. So that's all I have right now.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Ash. Any questions for Trustee Ash from the committee?
Madam Chair, can I just make a comment? Just in general, I'm sure people already know this, but a reminder that the Budget Committee and the Community Engagement Committee meetings are held online, and you can go to our website, find the date and time, and you can come be there with us. A lot of the work for the college gets done in committee, so come watch the committee and watch us do our work. Just a little paid advertisement.
Yeah, some good work though. Definitely worth it. Okay, may we have a motion to accept the report, please?
Move, we accept the report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again, all committees. Next is the, excuse me, consent agenda. May we have a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Okay, next we have the Student Senate report. Ms. Elizabeth Daniels, Student Senate President, and Ms. Eden Barnes, Student Senate Vice President.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm the Student Senate President, Elizabeth Daniels. Eden cannot be here today. She had a class. So our report, 2 weeks ago, we had our very first Student Senate meeting. We went over club expectations and club rules. It was nice to just see all the clubs for the first time since school really started, and it was nice to see all the new returning club members and old club members, so that was nice. And then we also accepted new members for Student Senate. We filled some of our executive positions and also some of our secondary positions as well, so that was a great opportunity and a great experience. And then our second or third report is this upcoming meeting that is this Friday. We are having our second Student Senate meeting over Microsoft Teams, and we are meeting with all of our clubs and just, once again, to go over expectations and rules. So that is really our report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from anyone? Okay, may we have a motion to accept the report, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you again. Next is the President's report, presented, of course, by Dr. Mosher. Go ahead, Dr. Mosher.
Thank you, Chair Criswell. So first of all, good morning to everyone and welcome. This is our first KCKCC Board of Trustees morning meeting for the year. So nice to see everyone up bright and shiny this morning. We have 3 of these meetings that we hold in the morning session. So we'll have today's meeting, and then we have a morning meeting at the Pioneer Career Center, and then a morning meeting at the Technical Education Center. So we look forward to that, and help spread the word, students and Student Senate, that these meetings are coming out, and they're a good time for students, if they're not in class, to come and see the board take action on many projects that we're working on across the institution and at multiple sites. So we're glad to have everyone with us this morning, either online or in person. I'm just going to say something just really brief, and Christy may have some more information, but we had our 3 centennial birthday parties, which were a great turnout. So a big thank you to her and her staff and the others to get that ready and carry those through. So they were great events. Also, you may look as we are continuing our campus beautification. Facilities, grounds are really working on if you'll notice, the ponds are really getting cleaned up, and debris taken away from around, and making them nice and pretty with the blue dye, which also helps keep the algae away. But they were also out spraying the algae in the big ponds to kill that, so that we can get a really good start. So campus is looking beautiful. The small pond behind us, we had talked about getting it all cleaned out, getting rid of the reeds, etc. And they had a great idea. Again, I think maintenance and grounds. They actually raised the overflow by 2 feet. So that will make the pond deeper, so the water will be clearer, and it will also come up on the sides of the pond by those 2 vertical feet, and make the pond larger than it currently is. So they have the overflow poured, and the concrete is solid. They started the backfill. They're doing some cleanup, and then we'll put some more water in it. But take the opportunity to check those spaces out. We'll get our sculptures back here in the next week or two. You know, they're really doing fine detail on the paint job. They know when someone's kind of picky about that. So they'll look really nice. And we're going to put picnic tables out there and benches in the shade and some other places. So we just really want to compliment our grounds and maintenance crew on that. Downtown, as Trustee Brown mentioned, we had a great groundbreaking ceremony. Christy and her team, and again, in maintenance and the whole crew, got that all set up. We had 120 chairs for people to sit. And I think Christy said we had 45 people that were still standing. So we had somewhere between 160 to 170 people show up for that event, which was great, and some good media as well. Really thankful for Bank of Labor. They made a $75,000 additional contribution to the project before the event. And then, of course, the surprise $1 million donation from Community America Credit Union, which is going to be a tremendous help to our fundraising. That will go to the naming rights of the art gallery, so that'll be a nice addition to the art gallery. And then that, because that space is college space, that $1 million will go directly to the college's portion of the project as well. So that's super. Couldn't have asked for a better day, and everyone's help to make that happen, getting it set up really early in the morning. That was terrific. We just executed the demolition contract, so that work should take place in the next few weeks. They'll start on the east side of the buildings on the street, and then slowly deconstruct the church, saving those elements. So by the time they work their way west, then they'll be ready to demo all those buildings. Still planning to save the blue building on the end. It appears sound. We're going to do some more study on it, and if we can, we're going to keep it so that we can, renovate that and turn it over to someone at a really reasonable rate, just so they can provide food services and such in that downtown area. So looking forward to all of that. On Thursday, September 28th, we do have, it's finally come to fruition, the UG presentation about how we do our budgets, our accomplishments, and how we look at the mill levy. So Trustee Criswell and I will be at that for that presentation. Anyone's welcome to join. Again, it's Thursday, September 28th, 5 p.m. in the special session. This Wednesday, which would be tomorrow, I guess, we have the board candidate forum. And I think we have 4 or 5 candidates who are able to make it at that time. And it's at 3 o'clock to 4:30 to make it convenient for our employees and our students to attend, because as Dr. Daniels mentioned, there will be other venues around the county too for elected official candidates to present themselves. Panasonic has really ramped up speed. They're looking to open in starting production and testing in the testing mode in October of 2024, which is right around the corner, and looking to have as many trained members of the workforce as they can, especially around automation engineering technology and industrial maintenance technology. So we're working with them to build some extra cohorts that will be Panasonic specific, and they'll be helping us with the finances on that, with some additional expenses that go along with that. We have a meeting later today with us and Johnson County, K-State, KU, and the representative from the state for Panasonic on what are some of the needs of these institutions that they have to do with facilities or equipment or people or whatever the case may be, so the state can look at stepping in and helping with some of the compensation as well. So that's a good move. Just the other day, I've served on the KC Civic Council for a couple years now, and they have a KC Rising group, and then they have a steering committee for that group. I've sat on the steering committee this last year, and then this year I've been asked to serve as the co-chair for the regional committee on workforce development. So that will be great, and excuse me, Dr. Baylog will be serving on that as my other half of the co-chair, and we'll see who's working with us on that so we can kind of tag team with our busy schedules. Fabiola will mention this a little bit. She's not here today, but she has an electronic report that she'll be submitting. But Fabiola, she came to us with great international experiences, and one of the organizations she worked with is the Association for International Education Administrators. So she was contacted by the U.S. Embassy in Lima, Peru, and they were looking for 2 individuals, an administrator and a technical person to do Fab Lab. But she mentioned what my background was, working with the World Bank and the Ministries of Education in Yemen and Asia and the Middle East. So as it turns out, they're looking for 2 people from the United States to go over with this U.S. Embassy trip. And the 2 people from the U.S. are Dr. Ryobi and I. So that's a great win for the college. It's a whirlwind trip. It's 10 days. We fly into Lima on day 1. Day 2, we actually take off and fly to a college and present to a group in Pucallpa, giving faculty presentations, panel discussions regarding best practices with public and private technical college executives and administrators, and how we do community college education, technical training, workforce development in the U.S. We repeat that cycle several times, going to about 5 or so different institutions, about 5 different flights in those 10 days. And then we wrap up with a Prime Minister for Public, Higher and Technical Education, Quality and Services Pertinence Program. And then we also will meet with another group associated with the Ministry of Education and the General Directorate of Technical, Productive, and Higher Technology and Artistic Education. So it should be a really good group, meet with a lot of good institutions, meet with a lot of the leadership, both in the Ministry of Education and the excuse me, the ministry, and then also with the embassy. So, and we'll look to put together packages on what we can do and help bring students to KCKCC to finish up and look at work visas and instructor exchanges, administrator exchanges, so we can really delve into that international market. So Fabiola's been right on it, and that looks, it's all turned out. The U.S. Embassy is paying for the entire trip, so there's no money out of pocket for the institution, and should make a lot of really great contacts while we're there. Besides that, we have the board, student, and cabinet lunch after this meeting, so I hope everyone's able to stay and have tacos. We have a wonderful taco bar from the deli downstairs. So lots going on, lots of people really working hard, which I appreciate. And with that, I'll end my report.
A lot of exciting things going on, that's for sure. Any questions or comments from the board? Dr. Mercer's report. Okay, just one real quick comment. I know that you'd mentioned the groundbreaking, and of course it was a tremendous event. So tremendous, in fact, that just on a personal note, I was at a function a little bit later on that Friday evening, and several people that I didn't even know came up to me and just commented about how well it was done and how excited they were and such, and excited for the community, of course. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who helped to put it together. Also, thank you to the board members and such, because I think it really takes all of us to get to even to the point to where we're groundbreaking for something as tremendous as this project. So just thanks to everyone on that. Any other questions or comments? May I have a motion to approve the report, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again, Dr. Mosher. Next up is the Executive Vice President's report delivered by Dr. Scott Baylog. Go ahead, Dr. Baylog.
Thank you very much. It's great to see all of you this morning. It was nice to see Trustee Ash on Friday. Thank you for joining us at the KCK Chamber Congressional Forum, where we heard from State Representative Sean Tarwater. Just an update on work that he's doing at the state level. Gave us the opportunity to thank him for his work supporting community colleges and workforce education at the state level. Chance for us to connect with him. So, Trustee Ash, thank you for being there.
You bet.
Last month, I gave a very brief update on some work streams that emanated from our cabinet retreat earlier this year. Provided you a little bit more detail this month in my agenda item. Those three areas that came out of our retreat are focusing on reducing enrollment friction. That's not just about the friction points that students may face as they approach the front door, but it's also as students continue to stick with us. It's also taking into consideration what we're seeing as this real change in enrollment trends among our students. So we're seeing more and more students that are coming to us interested in short-term certificate programs. They want to come in, they want to acquire skills, and they want to jump back out to work. So as their lifelong learning partner, how do we make those off-ramps and on-ramps seamless, easy to navigate, so they can come back to us, acquire the skills they need, oftentimes working at the same time, and get back out into the workforce with more marketable skills. So that's work that Vice President Myers is continuing to push forward and advance, and we'll continue to advance that work throughout this term and into the spring. Rapid product development. You've heard the President mention about our conversations with Panasonic. How do we create a rinse and repeat approach in working with these employer partners that are approaching us saying, we need talent, we need it now? So we've got to meet businesses where they are. We've got to work at the speed that businesses operate. And so by creating these rinse and repeat models, we're able to develop these partnership agreements and stand-up programs, moving from conversation to program start quicker than we ever have before. And so we're working on that as a team. And finally, data innovation. How do we become more sophisticated in the ways in which we use data to inform our decision-making and our operation? I'm very excited to announce the hiring of Dr. Stephen Nettles, who will be our next Director of Institutional Effectiveness here at the college. He will start on October 2nd here in person, but Steve comes to KCKCC with over 25 years of experience in various settings, K-12, community colleges, public research universities. Most recently was Ashford University, then merged with the University of Arizona. They were their global campus, where he was Vice President of Institutional Effectiveness. He's currently working with Florida State University, their Learning Systems Institute, and working with the government of Lebanon to help stand up a community college system there and informing their work. So very much in line with our approach to global programs and engaging global audiences all around the world. But excited for Steve to join us in just a few weeks. So that's on the strategy front. From partnerships standpoint, we are one of 27 colleges that were invited by the University of Kansas and their Institute for Sustainable Engineering to support their Environmental Applied Refrigerant Technology Hub. This is a $100 million project over the next 10 years through investments from the university, their partners in industry, as well as hopefully funding from the National Science Foundation. We are excited to be a part of this. This is a national initiative. They're collaborating with 5 universities, but bringing us on as one of their training partners to support technicians in the use of these new refrigerant technologies. This is amazing work. I was just down at KU, it was about 2 weeks ago, participating in the NSF visit. Also gave me the opportunity to meet with Chancellor Hrog there.
1 minute.
really to talk about ways in which we can develop more enhanced articulation agreements between KCKCC and the university. We're one of 5 institutions that came together to support the graduates at the U.S. Disciplinary Barracks in Fort Leavenworth on August 31st. KCKCC, along with Upper Iowa University, Missouri Western State University, and Adams State, celebrate our graduates. We had 10 that walked across the stage. We also had another 18 that were awarded degrees through KCKCC. Chose not to walk, but certainly proud of them. Finally, we're excited to partner with Joe Macklin and his district is foundation. They are developing a training institute and supporting the next generation of audio engineers and producers. And so he's working with young people all across the KC metro area, and we will now be collaborating with him. Joe is a native of Wyandotte County and is actually building a facility not far from our new downtown center. And so it's exciting to be able to partner with him. Finally, operations and execution. We're working as a group to review the way in which we perform at the institution. We met briefly with our President's Extended Cabinet, but certainly reviewing the function of that group and supporting innovation and driving performance here at the institution. But we'll also, Cabinet, myself, and our committee and council chairs from across the college will be reviewing the work that we do, the productivity of these groups, to really drive our performance as an institution. Thank you. I welcome your questions.
Any questions or comments for Dr. Balog?
Move approval of the report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
What's going on?
Any opposed?
Indeed.
Motion carries.
Great to see
Thank you
all of
again, Dr. Balog. Excellent.
Thank you.
Next is the Vice President of Academic Affairs report delivered by Mr. Jerry Pogue. Go ahead, Mr. Pogue.
Thank you. I'll just call attention to a couple of items in this month's report. The assessment team held a biannual assessment day event. That's during our welcome week. Some of the sessions were about program review, comprehensive exams, common assignments. Academic and co-curricular coordinators participated. We kind of have a pilot for course level assessment that's going on, and approximately 132 faculty, staff, and administrators attended these events. So we're well on the way to getting a culture of assessment, which I'm very excited about. And Trustee Sutton has mentioned that I'm saddened that Dr. Cynthia Goodo, who's our Director of Assessment and has helped us tremendously through our process of getting off probation. She is leaving us, but I know it's to better things, and I'm really excited for her in this career opportunity that she has. But certainly she's done great work for us here at the college. The Center for Teaching Excellence, you can just see the number of sessions that are scheduled here or that happen during the breakout session. And so kudos to Tom Grady, the faculty director for the Center for Teaching Excellence. The music department performs at West Wyandotte Library just down the street. They have jazz concerts. The department has grown enough that we actually have 2 nights of concerts. I remember when I was doing the accompanying for them, we only had 1 night. So congratulations. September 27th and 28th at 6 p.m. You do have to register just to make sure. I mean, it's free, but you do have to register just to make sure that they have seats for folks. We have a new exhibit coming to the Art Gallery September 11th through October 27th titled Lost and Found. The Art Gallery is partnered with the Migrating Assembly for Stories and Art, MASA, to put on this exhibit during Hispanic Heritage Month. So I encourage all who can attend that event, just kind of below us and around the corner, if you will. The Physical Therapist Assistant Program hosted the Commission on Accreditation in Physical Therapy Education, CAPTE, for their reaccreditation site visit last week. I was able to sit in on the initial meeting as well as the final meeting where they read their report. As no surprise, it was an excellent visit, and we don't expect any issues with that report. It'll take it a number of months to get through the whole process, but it was an excellent visit. I'm very excited, too. A spring 2023 graduate earned a perfect score of 800 on their NPTE National Board exam, and you'll notice only 0.6% of the folks who take that exam earn a perfect score. They consistently have 100% first-time pass rate, so congratulations to that group. In Dr. Kramer's division, 3 full-time instructors kind of helped reorganize that adjunct office. So you can kind of see some pictures there, just made it a more inviting and useful space. Chris Ball, who's in the administrative office professional program, attended a conference and at Johnson County Community College. We were a sponsor of the event, and she was on the steering committee for that event. So nice work, Miss Ball. And then I wanted to call attention to the Social and Behavioral Sciences and Public Services Division. They're doing a number of initiatives. They did kind of a pet food initiative for a couple of years, and so they're partnering with our own Blues Kitchen Cabinet, and they're taking donations of food that you might not think of. So people who have sensitive allergies, so gluten-free food, lactose-free, low-sodium, high-protein. So congratulations, and thanks Heidi for working on that. And there should be an opportunity for those who want to contribute, and they can ask me or ask Dr. Mosier, and I'll tell, but it's down in the Social and Behavioral Sciences Division office. And then one last thing. Friday, August 25th, economics professor Dr. Andres Cantillo received his nationalization certificate. So he wrote, "This means I am now an American citizen and no more a green card holder." So congratulations to Dr. Cantillo in the Division of Social and Behavioral Sciences.
And Mr. Pope, this flashes me back to my previous life where I worked in the federal court. I got to give that oath of allegiance to over 4,500 new Americans.
Oh, wow.
And it's a 2-part oath. It's a renunciation followed by an affirmation. And the renunciation starts, "I do hereby declare upon oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure any allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen." So
Wow.
tell the man I'm very proud of him.
I definitely will.
I'm impressed you remembered that.
I'm impressed.
My own Alzheimer test.
About you're ingrained.
You might as well give us the affirmation.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm
Oh, my goodness.
When you get to the affirmation part, you take them through a series of things that they're required to do as citizens, and one of them is, "I agree to bear arms," and then you pause, and everybody in the room goes, "What?" I do what? On behalf of the United States, when required by law. So there's a whole series of affirmations, but
Thank you.
Really clarify that one.
Thanks for sharing.
sorry, I just had a flashback on that.
Thanks for sharing that.
That's awesome.
That was amazing.
Move approval of the report with the editorial comment from Trustee Bruni.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank
Motion carries. Thank you again, Mr. Next is the Vice President of Student Affairs and Enrollment Management report delivered by Dr. Chris Myers. Go ahead, Dr. Myers.
Good morning, Madam Chair and trustees. I'm a little concerned
Morning.
about the editorial comments from my comments here, so I'll try to keep it brief. Fall semester started. Beginning of fall semesters, when we have a lot of welcome back activities, as you can see, looking through the report, lots of activity. So, typically we have the lull in the summertime as everyone kind of gets ready for the fall semester. Some really great engaging activities. One thing I did want to mention, which I mentioned previously to the board, is our back to school event. We had that on August 1st, my birthday, so it was the greatest present of all. But we've gotten our feedback from that event, and almost everybody that participated said that should be an annual event, and they found it very useful and informative, so we're very excited. And the student services team led by Dr. Darrett and his directors are working on potentially a spring event, but also making sure that we have this type of activity as a core retention strategy. As you also note in the report, fall 2023 enrollment is still trending favorably compared to fall 2002. We're currently at 2.78% in terms of overall headcount. Very pleased with our efforts in terms of improving our admissions processing, that our new student enrollment's up 8.5% compared to last fall. So good trends there. We're still seeing some lows in the virtual courses, which, some of that's cycling off of COVID. But if you think about our SEM plan and our need to have more online and virtual and hybrid offerings as we start ramping it up and be more strategic about that, I'm sure we'll see that, because we still have a lot of students that like the flexibility, that don't want to be fully online. even though we have some students that do like that. But the opportunity to pick up a class or two and maintain a full schedule with the flexibility of those classes is something that we're really going to put a lot of effort to into the strategic enrollment management planning. One thing I did want to make note of is a major SEM project, strategic enrollment management project that we have underway is the application for admission task force simplification project. We still have multiple processes that are manually done, so we have a task force composed of key staff member from my area, information services, and across the college, working to create a much more simplified application for admission to not only make it quicker for students and prospective students to fill out the application, but to process it also even faster too, to take a lot of that manual entry out so that we can get the students who are interested in coming to our college to in the hands of our academic advisors and the ones that can really help them shape their goals. That is going to come in 2 phases. We anticipate having the first phase out in 1st of December. And then the second phase out next spring. A key component of this initiative also is to integrate all of our prospective students and learners into one application. So even things like continuing education and stuff like that, so that we can fully capture their information on the application side. Made mention already of student housing. Student housing is still currently at full occupancy. Right now we have 5 on the wait list, and they're all local students. And generally they're pretty favorable about that, and most of them sit there and say, hey, if spot opens up, let us know. We'll move in. So very pleased with that. The Student Success Center, efforts to encourage students to proactively schedule advising appointments is seeing some results. In August compared to last year, they had a 23% increase in students signed into the Student Success Center. Which is a very favorable result. And also that they had 44% more advising appointments compared to last year, August. So thinking about that, making sure our advisors are much more accessible and available for students is really seeing some proactive results. So we're very pleased about that. And it's also an equity measure too, and work-life balance. For example, we have lots of students who might not be able to get to here for a full advising appointment, but getting on teams for 20 minutes with an advisor is really time well spent and stuff like that. So they're really flexing to make sure that they're available for students who are here that need that face-to-face interaction, but also meeting the students' demands. The other thing I'd want to mention is that after considerable review and collection of feedback regarding our 2023 commencement ceremony, I am pleased to announce that we are in the process of finalizing terms to host the 2024 commencement ceremony at Children's Mercy Park.
1 minute.
On May 16, 2024. Oh, a little round of applause there. Instead of 2 ceremonies, we're anticipating having a 1 p.m. ceremony. We can't have a 2 p.m. ceremony because they have an evening graduation that evening. Moving to Children's Mercy Park will alleviate the capacity issues that we've been experiencing in the field house so that graduates can ensure that all their guests can attend. As part of the rental, Children's Mercy Park provides security, concessions, stage, setup, videography, and other administrative details, which we typically have to handle, which is a tremendous workload during the spring semester. Yeah. And it will also be cost effective. The overall cost is about $21,000, which when we summed up all the major expenses in terms of security and stuff like that is essentially the same price. The special event staff at Children's Mercy Park is also holding the evening dates for the 25 and 26 commencement ceremony for us so that we can move to a 1 evening ceremony. That is not official until the Major League Soccer schedule comes out. But as a Sporting Kansas City fan, they rarely play on Thursdays. So I'm pretty confident that we'll be able to get the 25 and 26 thing. So with that, that's my report, and I'm happy to take any questions or comments.
Right. Any questions or comments for Dr. Myers?
Good. Very good.
Good.
I had, I had several, but I'll just, in the interest of time, I'll only mention one. On the Register and Records report, it said that 46 students applied for summer graduation, but they were ineligible. My question is, what's our next step? What are we doing with these students?
Yeah, great question. So when we find students who apply for graduation and have not met the degree requirements, they're referred to the Student Success Center advisor, who specifically will speak to them to make sure they're on track to get their degree or certificate in the fall.
Okay, that's what I wondered, were we trying to get them through by December or the following May? Because, sometimes they just get confused on things, and we don't want them to get disheartened and just leave.
Right.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments or questions? We have a motion to accept the report, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again, Dr. Myers. Next is the Vice President of Educational Innovation and Global Programming Report, delivered by Dr. Fabiola Riode.
And thank you, Chair Criswell. She's not here today, but she submitted a video report, which our media services will play now.
Excellent. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. Educational innovation and global programming seeks to foster excellence through 5 key areas: adult and continuing education, high school partnerships, online education services, global and international programs, and workforce innovation. In our adult and continuing education programs, we have over 318 students enrolled across all programs. We're averaging about 4 GED tests administered per day, and we recently hired 2 new instructors. Stephanie Pritchard has been diligently working along with Ashley Irvin and myself to lead a strategic partnership with Amazon, where we will provide ESL instruction on their site to over 94 employees. Thank you, Stephanie. In our continuing education program, Kids on Campus was a huge success with over 205 students registered. Not to mention, since June, we've had over 200 students in either our driver's education or two-wheel and three-wheel education programs. Our Ed2Go platform is working phenomenally. Since the fiscal year of 2023, we've generated $40,000 in income. Congratulations to our KCKCC GED graduates. This August, 12 students graduated with GEDs, 5 coming from the University of Kansas Health System, and 7 coming from the Lansing Correctional Facility. We are so proud of them. Wow. Our high school partnership has a whopping 1,300 students enrolled from 18 high schools. Now, we did notice a little decline during the last week of August. And thanks to our strong visionary, Julius Brownlee, along with Nakari Harris, they kicked off a high school partnership collective efficacy tour, where they're visiting all of our institutions and learning firsthand from our advisors and our counselors what we at KCKCC could do to help support them as they provide Julius. Online education services. Now, we know that online education services has been hard at work supporting Board of Trustees Zoom meetings. But could you imagine in the month of August alone, they supported over 957 Zoom meetings across the college? Not to mention resolving 382 faculty or student tickets along with IT issues. They've also noticed an enhance in the usage of lecture capture software such as Panopto, where there have been 679 unique users engaging with the platform. The OES team is also hard at work in supporting our faculty in ensuring that our online classes are 508 compliant. Here you'll see the online education team, Colin, Susan, and Sean, were tabling at the Welcome Back Bash, where they were engaging in students, promoting our online education software, but most importantly, giving out some cool swag. Thanks, team. Global and international programs. I'm just excited to say that over the last 5 years, we've enrolled 440 international students on campus. And we aim to increase those numbers by exploring trends in countries of origin, enhancing the international student experience, cultivating relationships with local stakeholders that service international populations, and also by bridging connections with international partners. Here you see our very own international student who not only is on the soccer team, but most recently has been added as a student worker to the admissions team. Thank you so much to Teresa Hill for making that possible. Thinking about bridging international partnerships, myself and Dr. Mosier will be traveling to Peru late November in order to partner with the U.S. Embassy there and work with local colleges around opportunities surrounding international education, but particularly partnering with community colleges such as KCKCC. We're so excited. In workforce innovation, in August, we launched our lineman apprenticeship program where we have 4 students participating in that initiative. Myself and Ashley Irvin are actually in Topeka right now working on an apprenticeship training for intermediaries that's going to help us promote and increase the number of apprenticeships we have registered from the college. In September, we have 2 strategic recruiting events in which we will participate, one at Leavenworth and the other one at Fort Riley, where we're looking to provide information to our students or potential students about workforce innovation. Here at the Educational Innovation and Global Programming team, we believe that at Kansas City Community College, you can start here and go anywhere.
Excellent.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey.
all right.
Start here and go anywhere. That's great.
Okay, may we have a motion to accept the report, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Alrighty, excellent video. Okay, moving on to the Chief Marketing and Institutional Image Officer report delivered by Ms. Chris Green. Go ahead, Ms. Green.
Hello, how is everybody today?
Super.
I tell you what, I'm coughing just like you, Trustee. I have finished my party season, and it was a great success. I know I saw several trustees at our birthday celebrations. We had 3 of those, and all of you, and most all of you at the groundbreaking. It was a great season for celebrating the 100 years of success at KCKCC. We have heard compliments and we have shared in the victories that KCKCC has accomplished over its 100 years. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank all of my staff who helped with the groundbreaking and give a special thanks to Kim Luchin and Joy Cicero in the print shop. Because I was planning the groundbreaking, they took on the birthday celebrations all on their own, put together the committee, and we had over 200 people at Tech. We had over 300 people on main campus and about 75 to 80 at PCC. Within an hour at both Tech and main campus, we completely ran out of t-shirts and cake. And that's a great problem to have, but I felt bad for those who were still in line. We could have had more. So I just wanted to share some of those successes and make sure that I took a moment to thank my staff who helped make all of that happen. Also, we are not resting on the great 1.8%, 7%, 8% of the increase that we're seeing. We're also actively marketing 8 weeks. We saw 8-week postcards. They are going out and hitting homes now. And we sent emails out this week encouraging folks to join our second 8-week class cycle. Also, keep an eye on your inbox, on your old-fashioned mailbox, not your inbox, because I received my annual report in the mail yesterday. So about 3,000 community members will be receiving that sometime in the next week. Also, we are now gearing up for the second phase, third phase, fourth phase, all the phases of our centennial celebration and are actively underway for our centennial magazine and creating those stories and putting that together. We anticipate having that done right at the beginning of the spring semester. In addition, our staff has received some recognition for the work they did. One of the we just found out this week we received 2 awards from NCMPR. One of them is on diversity and multicultural advertising campaign that focused on our Hispanic marketing effort that helped us reach that 25% we needed. And so that received an award along with one of our Get Ready microsites, which helps students who are getting ready to enroll at KCKCC and has all of the information right there. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions, and I thank you all very much.
Any questions or comments from Ms. Green?
Pretty good job on all that, Chris.
Thank you.
Yes.
You and your team did
Excellent.
good work.
Excellent.
I have to miss it.
Move approval of her report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again, Ms. Green. Next is the Chief Financial Officer report delivered by Dr. Shelley Knieven. Go ahead, Dr. Knieven.
Good morning. You
Good
guys
morning.
still,
Morning.
you're with us, right? A lot of reports, but a lot of great information.
Yes.
So a couple just quick supplements to Trustee Isnard's report about the financials. The FY 23-24 budget was filed with the county. So that concludes our whole process. And now we're in the midst of implementation of the budget. So again, thank you for all the work that the Board of Trustees did on that. I know it's a difficult time for our communities, and so I appreciate all the hard work of the board. Our annual audit is also underway. They're on site right now, and they do a lot of just random testing of different files and such. And we do expect that their audit will be completed in October, and then we'll schedule to get on the Finance Committee and then to the full board for their audit report. So they're working hard. We also have a new member of our team. I'm quite happy about this. This is our Director of Budget and Purchasing. Miss Amy Winson is the person that was hired for that position, and she's going to help us in particular focus on purchasing and helping us really bolster our process so that we get good competitive bids and quotes, so we're getting the best prices for all of the items that we're purchasing in the work of the college. She's also doing the grant financial support, so that's an important part, particularly as our foundation and our grants director keep being successful and getting more and more grants. So we're quite happy that she'll be here with her experience and support. In my monthly report to the board, I did highlight Phase 5 of Learning Spaces is done. There are just some really wonderful enhancements to a variety of spaces throughout all of the different locations for the college. I don't know, I don't know. Oh, there she is. So Yelena, Dr. O is here. She has chaired this committee now. She's on her 6th year. And she's really spearheaded this effort, and it's remarkable, just, the comparing the befores and afters. I should have put some before and afters in my report, but a big thank you to Yelena for the leadership that she has had in regard to really improving these academic spaces for our students. On the board reports, the recommendations, ratifications, there's a few items on there you'll notice for the AET program. That concludes for at least the federal earmark that we received, or the strategic funding priority that we received for the AET program. We've met the grant requirement of having all of the funds encumbered by September 30. So that's about $1.8 million in equipment, so quite exciting, and stuff is starting to be received. And I know the faculty member, Chuck Saunders, who's been instrumental in this, as well as the students, are very excited about all of this modern technology. Last is that here in new business, we do have our attorney online who will help lead us through the industrial revenue bonds discussion, which is the closeout of Centennial Hall financing, and helped us to get a sales tax exemption for that project, saving the college over $1 million in sales tax. So it's a few hoops to jump through. It's a bit confusing, but Kevin's online and he'll walk us through that under new business. So with that, I'll pause and see if there's any questions for now.
I'm just curious. I saw you've already conducted one. Looks like another one scheduled tomorrow for the general safety training for student staff.
Yes, we do that. We do
Are
that.
they coming?
Yes,
They
they
are.
do.
Good.
We do them monthly, and we've had a good showing of students and employees that attend those sessions. And so we rotate them around, try to promote them. But yes, we've had good participation, and it's about a 2.5 hour training session. So people are actively engaged and
That's good.
appreciate the information. Absolutely.
Safety's everybody's business. So
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You
That's
bet.
good.
And I noticed in the report about the elevator, and that's great.
Yay.
Hopefully by October,
Yes.
sometimes, yeah.
Mid-October,
Seems like
I actually wrote it at the top with big stars, talk about the elevator. That elevator. the vein of my existence. However, the elevator is scheduled for mid-October. We continue calling almost every other day to see if they can't book us up in their schedule a bit, but we are actively working our contractor, as well as looking for new contractors to help us in the future that can be a little quicker to respond.
Speaking of looking for contractors, we work with, what's our contract, McGowan, Gordon?
Mm-hmm.
Do they know people? Because with what they do, I would think that our big overall general contractors would know people. I know it's limited, the people that do that kind of work.
It is. They do, and there's 3 or 4 companies that really service the Kansas City metro area. This is a very large company that we're working with, and so it's just a lot of work, and I think some of that's still their, lead time on parts was part of it, but then also it's just backlogged, still trickling from with the pandemic. And then as companies are bringing people back to work, then I know they said they had 46 elevators in front of us, which is just remarkable in terms of the workload that these companies have. But yes, there are several, and we have worked with Otis Elevators, one that we've worked with in particular over on Centennial Hall. So we're trying to branch out. They've got actually our rebuilt cab, so we can't branch out on this exact project, but we want to make sure we have other resources so that these don't go on so long.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.
May we have a motion to accept the report, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again, Dr. Knaven. Next is the Chief Human Resources Officer report delivered by Ms. Christina McGee. Go ahead, Ms. McGee.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I am going to have a slight modification to my normal report. I've been asked to speak about how the Supreme Court decision on affirmative action impacts higher ed, and also just to give an update regarding the hybrid work pilot procedure. So I will do that, and then if there's time left, I would be happy to go into the normal HR report or answer any questions that you may have. But starting with the Supreme Court decision, it has been widely publicized on all media platforms as well as social media, but I just want to give a brief overview just in case individuals are not aware of what occurred. So on June 29th, 2023, the Supreme Court overruled a previous decision that was made regarding affirmative action, particularly in the area of admission. So universities and colleges that were using race as what they call a plus factor in the admissions process. This process allowed individuals to diversify their student body. And so on applications, universities and colleges use race as a sole factor. There are many factors, but race as a sole factor for a plus factor in terms of admissions and admissions on the application process. So the Supreme Court overruled that decision, and so universities and colleges can no longer use, or really banned from using, a plus factor specifically geared towards race. So the impact that has on organizations or university and colleges is that they can no longer use that. So it does not have a specific impact to KCKCC. We have an open admissions process. We don't have criteria or factors that specifically are geared towards race. But one of the things that we do need to consider is, as this decision has occurred, there have been discussions about how does that affect and impact affirmative action programs, DEI programs, hiring. And so I think we'll hear more as individuals continue to have discussions about the impact of this decision on colleges. As of right now, it is okay to have specific scholarships that are specifically for identified for individuals of a specific race. But we need to kind of continue to take a look at that and to see if this impacts, or the court's decision will impact scholarships, if it will impact our DEI programs. Right now, it does not. Our DEI programs, initiatives are not impacted because they don't specifically focus on race. But we'll want to continue to look out for in the future if some of these decisions or lawsuits and things of that nature are going to impact the college in any way. The other thing that was noted in the Supreme Court decision was that it is okay to have discussions in the application process about race and how it has impacted a student's life or their mission, but those conversations, again, we cannot, or universities and colleges that this impacts cannot use a plus factor. They can talk about their experiences and give points for leadership if there was a specific outcome related to their experiences, but not specifically related to race. So that's just the impact that it's had. It doesn't have much of an impact on community colleges, specifically KCKCC, but certainly those organizations that are colleges and universities that do use in their selective admissions process anything related to race.
1 minute.
I will. So next, I'll jump to the hybrid work pilot program. So right now we have a total of 63 individuals that have been approved for working remotely. And of that, there are 20 departments that are impacted by the remote work procedure. So in looking at our numbers previously, Cabinet had identified back in November, December, that there were about 120 eligible positions, people in positions that would be eligible for remote work, but only 63%, so about 52%, are actively approved and working remotely. I think that may be my time. I will say just quickly, Human Resources participated in a job career fair at Tonganoxie High School, and then our Center for Equity, Inclusion, and Multicultural Engagement held an open house this month just to introduce individuals to the team, as well as share strategic initiatives that we have coming up in the upcoming year. So with that, I will pause and answer any questions that you may have.
So Christine, on the hybrid program, there's a set of criteria then that determine whether a position is available for the hybrid work.
Mm-hmm. So we identified that back in prior to starting the program, based upon the job functions, the nature of the position. Cabinet identified which position titles would be eligible based upon the function of their job.
So not every staff position would be available for hybrid, would it?
No.
Right, that's correct. Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Nice job with the Supreme Court ruling.
I still have some questions about that, but I won't ask them today.
Okay.
For time,
Yeah.
I move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again, Ms. Mickey. We appreciate you.
Okay.
Next is the Chief Information Officer report delivered by Mr. Peter Gabriel. Go ahead, Mr. Gabriel.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I have just a few things to mention that are from my report, and I have one thing I wanted to mention that's not on my report. So to start, I believe I briefly mentioned this before, but we have what we call a SIM server. It's a Security Information and Event Management server. It's now fully deployed to all of our servers on campus with the agent that it uses and to what we would call a baseline workstation. We apply all of our policies equally across all of our computers and desktops. So we use that as a baseline to compare and assess how our security configurations and settings are against the Center for Internet Security's controls and best practices. So we have that implemented, and we've actually also turned on the vulnerability scanner, so we're able to get that information from that also. The next thing I wanted to mention was our ethos integration project, which is kind of the base for us getting from what is currently the Lucian portal, or MyDot as we know it, to Experience, which is the new version of the portal. I wanted to thank my team and those that contributed information to that project, working with the Lucian. Yesterday, we had a meeting, and we were able to complete the first phase of the project ahead of schedule. So we'll be moving on to the next phase, or second phase of the project as soon as we hear from their project manager. But the main point of that was that we ended ahead of schedule. So the third thing I wanted to mention was I had talked about us replacing the classroom monitors on the teaching stations. Just giving some data on that. We have 33, let me start with Pioneer Career Center first. All of those monitors and or the computers on the teaching stations at Pioneer Career Center have been replaced. We've replaced 33 of the teaching station monitors here at main campus, and roughly half a dozen at TEC. And we plan to finish replacing the rest of those monitors at this location and at TEC within the next 2 weeks. Once we finish that portion of it, we'll move into replacing any of the leftover square monitors that we have on the student classroom machines, and or replacing the computer as one. And then the final thing that I wanted to mention, it's not on my report. It's been on a report before about us migrating our automation for our student accounts and things like that from an old server to their new offering. That's finished. So Friday afternoon, we laid the groundwork for us being able to use that similar automation system to automate things with employees. So right now, as I mentioned to Christina earlier, we use what we call the PAN, which is a personnel action notice. It's basically kind of our onboarding sheet. That it's an Excel spreadsheet that has all of their information, and someone manually inputs most of that information into Active Directory. With this groundwork on the automation system in place, we will be able to eventually remove that PAN, the need for that PAN. We need to do a little bit of data cleanup or synchronization, we'll call it, between Active Directory and a Lucian colleague. But once that's done, a Lucian colleague will be the primary source for our information, and the automation program will synchronize that information from colleague into Active Directory. So just in general, if someone's title changes or some other piece of information of that changes in colleague, within an hour, it will change in Active Directory, and then other processes that are connected to Active Directory will auto-update. For instance, the Outlook directory, that information that it recycles every night, so the next day that would show up. We have some other projects that we're working on. The first one that we're implementing right now is the ID badge numbers. So whenever a student or a employee goes to have their ID badge printed, we record the number on the back of the badge because we use that for a couple of different things. One is for the paper cut printing system, so they can just swipe the badge to log into the printers. And then we also will eventually use that for door access. And that's kind of where our data cleanup and synchronization is coming in, because we have information of what location and room number and things where they're at in Active Directory, but we don't store that in colleague, so we'll sync that back over to colleague to, again, get that as our primary source of information. So it'll give us the ability to, kind of get rid of some of those daily tasks that individuals around campus do, and let them focus on other tasks that they can take on. So I think it'll be a great project. I was pretty excited about it. So as long as I've been here, we've not really automated that, especially for employees and staff. So. But that's really all I have. Be glad to take any questions or anything you might have.
Yep, just definitely a step in the right direction with the automation piece. Super important. So thank you for your efforts on that. Any other questions or comments for Mr. Gabriel?
Move approval of the report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again, Mr. Gabriel.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, that moves us to unfinished business. I'd like to invite Dr. Mosher to present the Child Care Center naming rights. Go ahead, Dr. Mosher.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is a conversation that we've been having over the last many months to look at adding a name to the Child Care Center. The proposal was brought forward from family and friends of Dr. Marjorie Blank about having her name on the outside of the child care facility that's currently operated by Little Leaders of KCK under the ownership of Parkwood Day School. So in the packet, there is a resolution, and as we've gone through these several months, we've looked at different opportunities, configurations, possibilities for naming. Is it on the building? Is it on a plaque? We want to make sure that it doesn't interfere with the business name so that there's not any confusion with that. And as we've been working through this process, as you know, we've looked at several different methods and placements of naming configurations, which is on page 3 of the building signage addendum that you have in your packet. I believe we have come to consensus with both, I believe, Board of Trustees desires and approval from the Little Leaders of KCK / Parkwood Day School. So in the resolution, it's for the board to agree to take action on or not take action on. Some of the key items in the resolution refer to KCKCC has entered into a lease agreement with Parkwood for the operations of Little Leaders of KCK. Whereas the original KCKCC campus childcare was opened in 1983 under the direction of Dr. Marjorie Blank in her role as the KCKCC's Dean of Students. Dr. Blank had a natural connection with a regional promoter of quality child care services. And whereas the KCKCC Board of Trustees has renamed the Child Care Center as the Marjorie Blank Child Care Building, wishes to depict signage on the facility in recognition of Dr. Marjorie Blank's contributions. So therefore, in consideration of the mutual covenants, promises, and lease agreements, the parties have agreed to be consistent with the lease agreement, paragraph 6, about signage being permitted for the facility. Includes both names, Little Leaders of KCK and Marjorie Blank Child Care Center. The design and placement has been mutually agreed upon by the two entities. KCKCC will do a public announcement and communicate the new name and dedication of that building as the Marjorie Blank Child Care Building. And the terms of the building signage will run concurrently with the term of the lease agreement for operations of the center between KCKCC and Little Leaders. KCKCC and the Little Leaders agree that the naming of the facility will not be contrary to or will not alter the signage provision contained in the lease agreement of paragraph 6.6. And then lastly, KCKCC reserves the right to rename the building and or seek an alternative building naming solution in the event a future child care center operator believes that the duplicate naming of the facility could impede upon their ability for their business operation. So I believe what we came up with, I think, is a really nice way to recognize Dr. Blank. And the names are separate, with the company name being over the main entrance of the child care center, which kind of draws that as the entrance of the center and the services being provided. And with the name of the center being the Marjorie Blank Child Care Building, it doesn't, the word building was a great recommendation because it's not a center, which a center, there are assumptions made that those are the operations within the structure, but we're naming the building after Dr. Marjorie Blank. So before we can move forward with this, it comes to the board for your signature, and then we would present it to the owner of Parkwood, who's operating Little Leaders of KCK, who has also agreed upon this layout in July of 2023. Because we are asking for this additional naming to go onto the building, I believe it's appropriate that KCKCC pay for the new letters and the attachment to the building, which is about $2,500 or so, so not terrible. So I would open that up for questions or motions to approve.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Mosier.
All right, very good.
Thanks for all the work to get it done, and, you know, I know there was a lot of negotiation, one thing or another, but I think it's good. I think it's a good solution.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah.
Well done.
I agree. I agree.
Yep.
So it'll be nice to have it up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll be appreciated
Work
by
is great.
many.
Yep.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now I'd like to invite you to present the relocation assistance standards. Go ahead, Dr. Mosher.
Thank you. So also in your packet, you have a document, a one-page document, KCKCC Relocation Reimbursement Standards. This is not a policy, but it's a practice that we agreed upon with the board in October. It looks like October of 2022. As you know, a lot of things have changed since that time. It's definitely an employee's market. And with the cost associated with moving, inflation, gas prices, vehicle rentals, et cetera, the numbers that we are currently working with are just, they're not working with our potential candidates that are looking to relocate from another location, especially if they're moving from multiple states away. So we're requesting that the numbers be adjusted to what is seen down below in blue. So directors would go from $3,500 to $5,000, deans $7,500 to $10,000, VP and chief officers $15,000 to $20,000, and there would not be a change to the president's relocation amount. These are more standard with the numbers that are taking place at other institutions, and I think it would benefit us in doing so. We would still have the same agreement that if there is a request to go above that, we would bring that to the full board for approval. But as we've recognized in some of this, if to have full board approval, then we almost need to call a special meeting just so that we do it in open, along with the Open Meeting Act, right, that we're making this change. So if we want to keep that the way that reads, or if it's informational in nature, if we want to make that change, because a lot of the times when we are attracting personnel to come work at KCKCC. It is a very timely event, and they're wanting to know an answer on what their entire package would be, with salary, benefits, and relocation as a part of that package. So we request the change, and then just curious on the board's desire to still seek approval prior to going above those dollar amounts, or if it becomes informational.
I think we do still need to have approval if it goes above those amounts. I am in agreement with these increased amounts because we have to remain competitive. I know last year when we approved the policy, and this was more procedure, this part of it, we had some people in the pipeline and we went retroactive and increased them. My concern this time is we should not go back and increase someone that's already passed through. This is September 19th, so this should be moving forward people who are just coming on board. That would be my recommendation. But I am in agreement of these new amounts.
You actually hit on a topic that I was thinking of as well. We do have a director that we're looking to attract from multiple states away, and I would like to request that that individual be given the $5,000 amount versus the $3,500. And in this particular request, then we're acting upon the current language that we have in front of us today.
Yes.
To go above.
And they're not already here working there. We're still trying to get them. Okay, that makes a difference, yes. That would be okay. But as I said, I know last October, because I don't know if the policy committee remembers, we were just working on this. And so there were some people that had come on maybe the month before, so we went on and reimbursed them that difference. But I don't think we should do that this time. I think if they're not already here, yes, but if they're already here, because otherwise that pipeline would just keep going back, reimbursing people.
The policy says eligible employees are newly hired administrators, typically from the dean director level and up. So I think it does limit it just to new employees, doesn't it? It's under policy statement, under eligible employees, to attract the best qualified employees, newly hired administrators, typically from dean director level and up, are relocating at least 50 miles from their previous residence. So it seems to me like it's just for new employees.
Correct. I didn't print the policy off, my error on that, but yeah, that
it's
language does exist in there,
The
so it would
policy is in
be.
here. The policy is in here.
Yeah, I'm going off paper.
Oh,
so, yeah, sorry.
Okay, all right.
I could get to it, but yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it is
What
for.
are you asking the board to approve? You said it wasn't a policy, but it is a policy. So what are you asking the board to do here?
I believe it's a practice versus a policy, but I could be wrong if we're going back to that.
It's wanting us to know that the amounts that we looked at last year are different.
Yeah. I'm
He
asking.
wants to increase.
I'm asking the board to increase from, there's a page that looks like this with two charts on it.
Right.
To the lower the dollar amount that is in the second chart as of September 19th, that has a little bit of an increase to each one of those positions.
Yeah,
So
we're not impacting the
you're asking the
policy.
board to approve the requested change to the relocation assistance standards. Is that correct, Dr. Mosier?
Yes.
As of today.
Yeah, and in this
Yes.
way, because before you had to let us know if it was above 15,000. And so now you want us to know, okay, you're telling us what you recommend the new amounts. So now it has to be over 20,000 before you would need board approval to go above it.
That would only be for a vice president or a chief officer. If it were a director, it would be above 5,000. If it were a dean, it would be above 10,000.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I meant respectively each position.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. it's minimal money, but it makes a big difference when you're trying to onboard someone and they'll just be wrecked, and it seems like we're cheap.
Okay, so there's no change to the policy,
No,
simply a change of the amount that we pay.
Correct.
that's
I move that we adopt what's been presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
wonderful.
opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank
Okay.
you, Dr. Murphy.
Yeah, thank you for that.
All right, that moves us to new business. And at this point in time, I know we've had an opportunity to review the handbook for FY 2024. Are there any questions or any comments that need to occur?
I'll just reiterate that the only thing that was really changed is in the board handbook is the calendar of events and presentations for the different months, as we find that it might fit better in a different month, depending upon what's going on in that area through the year.
Excellent. Okay, with that, could we have a motion to approve the Board of Trustees handbook for FY 2024?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That moves us to the Board of Trustee goals for FY 2024. Does anyone have any questions or any comments before we vote? Okay, then may we have a motion to approve the Board of Trustees goals for FY 2024?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next, I'd like to invite Trustee Linda Hoskins Sutton to present the policy, looks like the Fairness in Women's Sports Policy 3.11. Go ahead, Trustee.
Thank you, Chair. This policy, 3.11, Fairness in Women's Sports, you'll know it didn't go through the full sentence and process because this is from Topeka. This is a state statute, one that was originally vetoed by the governor, and then it was overthrown, and so now, according to Dr. Mosier, this became effective in July. A compliance. So with this, we need to go on and get it through so that we are in compliance. Are there any questions about this bill? In fact, I printed off the entire House Bill 2238, and the synopsis here that is provided is a good draft of what we need to say in the policy.
It's straight from the statute, so it's straight from the law.
Yes.
Right.
So if there are no questions and everyone's okay, I'll turn it over back to you to ask for the approval for voting on it.
Okay, may we have a motion to approve
you
the
have-
policy, please?
Since we have no choice, I move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Next, I'd like to invite Dr. Shelley Knieven, Chief Financial Officer, to present the Industrial Revenue Bonds Resolution. Go ahead, Dr. Knieven.
Thank you. We have online Kevin Cowan. Hopefully we can get him called up on the picture so that he can also present some information. This is, as I mentioned in my report, this is the approval of a resolution that would allow us to work with the unified government to issue industrial revenue bonds, which will help then allow the project post-construction to be sales tax exempt. It's the process that has been identified and used in other cases as well. And so we have presented the information to the Finance Committee and to the Foundation Board. It also authorizes us to execute the lease and the sublease because how the process works is that the property, once the bonds are issued, then the property, Centennial Hall, actually transfers to the UG and then to the foundation and then back to the college. It's all just paper, okay? So we never lose control of Centennial Hall, and then in a few months, we'll retire the bonds that are issued for the Industrial Development Authority bonds, and no payments will be made or anything. It's a lot of, like I said, a lot of hoops to jump through, but just a legal process that's been laid out. Have you all found Kevin online?
He's on.
Yep, there he is.
Oh, there he is. Okay, so I know it's been a long meeting, and so I can invite Kevin to talk you through the transaction. There's a memo, there's a graphic included in the packet. If you would like the detailed presentation, we can have him walk through that, or if you just want to ask questions. So I defer to the pleasure of the board.
Can we just show the graphic?
Sure.
Please?
So if you can pull up the graphic.
Yeah, I love the graphic, Kevin. Looks like a smiley face.
It does.
After all that
It looks like
movement.
this, guys. It's in the packet,
That's funny.
in the board packet. Kevin, if you've got the graphic, maybe you can share your screen. I know you've got it. So if you want to talk through the graphic real quick, you can just talk through the logistics of that.
It's on page 187 of the full board report.
And we'll give you a second.
I can share if he.
Yeah, I do need to pull it up, so if somebody has it
Yeah, I can share.
readily available.
No, it says host disabled participant screen sharing, so I guess I can.
Oh, can you allow trustee Chris?
You can now.
You got it.
Yeah,
Oh,
but-
We have it.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
All
okay.
right. Oh, well, no, I've got the same message. For some reason, it's not letting me share.
Yeah.
That's all right. Dr. Mosier, do you have a?
I think we're good. The trustees have laptops and such. It's on page 187. It just makes it easier
There you
to
go.
track
There you go.
There it is.
long documents.
You're on the
Yeah,
big
and
screen.
I can hop in here. Again, Kevin Allen with Gilmore and Bell, serving as bond counsel to the college. This process starts on the left where you see the college indicated, and as was indicated, the college would lease the facility, completed facility, to the unified government. Under our state law, the unified government has to have an interest in property to be able to issue industrial revenue bonds in connection with it. So this lease will satisfy that. The unified government then issues the bonds and delivers those to the college, and the consideration for that is unified government has received a completed Centennial Hall project. There's value there, and so they deliver bonds back to the college in an amount equal to the project costs on Centennial Hall. And that's the goal. We want to have bonds issued to cover all the project costs, because in connection with the bonds, the college has received a sales tax project exemption certificate. So we want every single item to be exempt from sales tax and to support that with the issuance of bonds. So bonds are back to the college. And I don't want to dig into the detail too much, but under our state law and a couple of court decisions rendered in connection with some Board of Tax Appeals disputes, it has been found that college and university foundations have a commercial purpose, whereas educational institutions do not. And we need to have a commercial purpose in connection with industrial revenue bonds. So we involve the foundation, and they lease the project under what we call the IRB lease. So unified government then leases to the foundation. The foundation is then a beneficiary of this process and this transaction to satisfy that commercial aspect. And then we have the foundation sublease back to the college. And as Dr. Knieven mentioned a moment ago, the goal is not only to satisfy the requirement that the bonds be issued so we can have the sales tax project exemption, but also to make sure the college never loses control of Centennial Hall and can operate it day to day. So all of these things happen at the same time and are signed and delivered and again, become effective. And then, because the college is the bondholder, it can turn in and have the bonds canceled at virtually any time. We don't think it should be next day, but some short amount of time later, a couple of months or something like that. We've talked about perhaps getting the bonds canceled by the end of this calendar year. And when that happens, and so the college can do that and say, bond trustee, we're delivering this for cancellation. Nothing is due and owing to us under the bonds, and all of the bond documents should terminate. So that would happen, and when that happens, everything you see on the screen here terminates. The leases terminate, and so the college then will just own and operate Centennial Hall as it has been owning and operating it. And again, if there are any eyes rolling or anything like that, I understand it is complicated, but some of you may recall 3 years ago, we spent quite a bit of time working through this to determine and be comfortable with the way a sales tax project exemption could be achieved, because there is a statutory prohibition against community college having a sales tax exemption on a facility that's primarily for human habitation. So everything else the community college does and pays for is exempt from sales tax, but there is a specific exemption to the exception, I guess, that says, well, you can't have an exemption for human habitation projects. And I wasn't around for it, but I always assumed that was just something that was bargained for by a commercial landlord lobby at the legislature, because their projects do have to have sales tax paid on them, or at least they're not subject to a blanket exemption. They could have industrial revenue bonds issued for their projects as well. So I will stop there. And again, I understand it's complicated and a lot of documentation.
Just had one real quick question about the bond cancellation process. You'd mentioned that you did not recommend the cancellation to occur like next day, for example, but rather, maybe a couple of months later. Are there any risks in waiting, or could you just kind of help to clarify that for me?
No, I don't believe so. Just because the college controls the process, and I will add, some of it is just practical, that it may appear a little bit too cute if we go through all this trouble and the very next day this happens, like it's a transaction, but it's sort of not a transaction. So I don't have an answer in terms of, well, what is the right amount of time? But again, shorter, we get a little uncomfortable with for the reasons I just stated, but it's not unusual for it to be a number of months. And this sort of thing is done fairly frequently on other commercial projects where the bonds are solely being issued for a sales tax exemption, and there's a requirement that they be issued, but no requirement that they remain outstanding for a long period of time. And so that's what I say, a couple of months or 3 months or whatever it is. But to your question, I don't think there is a risk unless something, and by the way, I don't think even this is a risk. If something changed in terms of the college's thinking about, well, maybe we don't turn this in a couple of months, we leave it out a little longer. Again, no legal risk to that. The question came up with the foundation about, well, how will this be noted on financial statements? And I do think that's important to consider. The college has a fiscal year that ends June 30, so all of this is taking place within a fiscal year and will presumably end before you get to June 30, where your auditor is examining the current circumstances at that time. So it may be noted that it occurred, but it's no longer an outstanding obligation. And I'm not sure about the foundation's fiscal year, whether that's the same as the college's, but there could be some risk of, well, it shows up in a financial statement the way it otherwise wouldn't show up if it stays outstanding longer. But having said that, if auditors or anybody really examines this, it's an obligation of the college to itself. So while it legally exists, financially, there's not much there in terms of teeth or a real obligation to pay, because you would be paying yourself.
Understood. Thanks for your clarification. Other questions from the board members or comments?
Quick question, and I apologize for not catching this before, but just want to make sure that our T's are crossed, I's dotted. On one of the first page of the documents provided by Gilmore and Bell titled Excerpt of Minutes of a Meeting, in the first paragraph it references our meeting being held today where we discussed this at 5 p.m. Do we need to have that changed to reflect the morning meeting?
Yes. I apologize for not catching that. I think I went to the website and saw, typically the 5 p.m. meeting, but I heard earlier that you occasionally have the 9 a.m. So yes, if I will make that change, and if anybody, wants to mark it and note the 5 p.m. is 9 a.m. for your own purposes there in the meeting, that's fine as well. But we'll make sure that's cleaned up for bond transcript purposes.
I move we approve the resolution with that amendment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, next I'd like to invite Dr. Mosier to present the resolution. It's the alcohol resolution for the Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools Reason to Believe celebration. Go ahead, Dr. Mosier.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, I want to just clarify. I think there were two resolutions related, so we approved both of them, right?
One at a time.
Regarding the lease?
Shelley's showing me one finger. So the longer document, both of those need to be signed or approved by the board, or is it the resolution only?
It's the resolution only, which then authorizes the chairwoman to sign the base lease and the sublease, which won't be done until the Unified Government Acts, which is at the end of this month. And if there's any substantial changes to those documents, we would bring those back to you. But the UG may have small changes and, catch something, and like our meeting time, for example. But we just need the one resolution. The foundation approved a separate resolution.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
Thank you. And for the purpose of the public, Dr. Mosier, could you, I'm sorry.
Looks like there's two, but I see it, yeah.
You got it?
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
No. Very good question. We want
to be sure we're all clear.
Yeah, we want to make sure we get this right. So.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Lots of moving parts on.
We're still smiling
on this one. Yes. So.
All right.
All right. So as the last agenda item on a long meeting, and after going through the process of industrial revenue bonds, I just see it fairly fitting that we end this with alcohol. But anyway, so we have with our friends at Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools, a resolution regarding the consumption of alcohol in accordance with the state statute. And the reason for this is the connection with the holding of the Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools Reason to Believe celebration, which we're glad to support. So for the technicalities of this, whereas Kansas Statute 41719D prohibits the consumption of alcohol liquor on public property except where expressly permitted by law, and whereas KCKCC also has the authority to be exempt from this provision, specified property which is under the control of KCKCC Board of Trustees and which is not used for classroom instruction. Section 1, KCKCC hereby exempts Thursday, November 2, 2023 from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. in the large multi-purpose room at the Technical Education Center from the requirement of KSA 41719D. Section 2, this exemption is granted in connection with KCKCC Public Schools, KCK Public Schools Reason to Believe celebration. So I offer that for your approval.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay, may we have a motion to approve the resolution as presented by Dr. Mosher?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Mosher. Well, that takes us to the end of our time together, sadly, of course. May we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.